Every person you admire today, every leader who inspires you, and every individual who radiates confidence and clarity started from the same place you are right now, uncertain, imperfect, and searching. The truth is, becoming the best version of yourself is not about waking up one morning with everything figured out. It's about taking consistent, intentional steps, steps that move you closer to the person you're meant to be. The journey begins with clarity. You cannot reach a destination if you don't know where you're going. Too many of us drift through life reacting instead of acting, living according to other people's expectations rather than our own vision. The first step is defining what the best version of yourself means to you. It's not about comparing yourself to others. It's about aligning with your values, your purpose, and your strengths. The second step is cultivating self-awareness. You need to understand your patterns, your habits, and your triggers. Without self-awareness, you'll keep repeating the same mistakes and growth will feel like a cycle instead of progress. Reflection, journaling, and seeking honest feedback are powerful tools here. The third step is embracing discipline. Motivation gets you started, but discipline keeps you moving forward when motivation fades. Think of discipline as the bridge between your current self and your future self. Small daily actions consistently applied compound into transformation. Fourth, you must build resilience. Life will test you. It will knock you down, distract you, and sometimes break your confidence. The best version of yourself is not the person who avoids challenges, but the one who learns to rise every time. Resilience is the muscle that allows you to keep moving even when things don't go your way. Fifth, surround yourself with the right environment. People either pull you forward or hold you back. Your environment is not just physical, it's emotional, social, and digital. The voices you let into your life, the people you spend time with, and the energy you absorb will all influence the person you are becoming. The sixth step is to keep learning. Growth stops the moment learning stops. Read, listen, explore, and seek knowledge in unexpected places. The best version of yourself is not fixed. It evolves, adapts, and expands through new experiences and ideas. Seventh, practice gratitude and humility. Gratitude grounds you. It reminds you of progress you've made instead of obsessing over what's missing. Humility keeps you open to learning, no matter how far you've come. The combination of gratitude and humility keeps your growth balanced and sustainable. And finally, the eighth step is contribution. The best version of yourself is not just about what you achieve for you, but about the impact you create for others. Fulfillment is found not in accumulation, but in service. When you give, when you mentor, when you inspire others, you don't just grow yourself, you multiply your growth through others. So these 8 steps, clarity, self-awareness, discipline, resilience, environment, learning, gratitude, and contribution, are not just principles to think about. They are actions to live. The best version of yourself is not a destination you reach, but a journey you commit to every single day. And every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to the person you are meant to become. 5 keynotes of this speech. The best version of yourself begins with clarity, defining who you want to be, not who others expect you to be. Self-awareness and discipline are the foundation for consistent growth. Resilience turns setbacks into stepping stones on the journey. Your environment and continuous learning shape your evolution. True fulfillment comes from gratitude, humility, and contribution to others. The best version of yourself begins with clarity, defining who you want to be, not who others expect you to be. Clarity is the foundation on which every great life is built, and yet it is one of the most overlooked aspects of personal growth. Too often, people live their entire lives without ever pausing to ask themselves the most important question: who do I really want to become? Instead, they follow paths that were laid out for them by parents, teachers, peers, or society. They climb ladders only to realize the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. Clarity is not about achieving perfection or predicting every step of the future. It is about creating a compass that directs your energy, your actions, and your decision towards something meaningful and authentic. Imagine walking into a dense forest with no map, no trail, and no sense of direction. You may keep moving, but without clarity, every step could be taking you further away from where you truly want to go. Life without clarity feels exactly like that. You may be busy, you may be achieving things, you may even appear successful to others, but inside there is a nagging emptiness because you are not aligned with who you are meant to be. The absence of clarity leads to confusion, procrastination, self-doubt, and even burnout because your effort is scattered instead of focused. When you define what the best version of yourself looks like, you give yourself a target to aim for, and that target becomes the anchor for your choices. Clarity starts with values. Values are the non-negotiables that shape your life, the principles you refuse to compromise on no matter the circumstance. For some, it may be integrity. For others, it may be growth, compassion, or freedom. When you are clear on your values, decisions become easier because you measure opportunities against what truly matters to you. Without values, you drift, constantly pulled in directions that don't serve you. With values, you anchor yourself in something steady even when life feels uncertain. Defining your values requires reflection, asking yourself what moments in life have made you proud, what situations have made you feel fulfilled, and what actions have left you feeling true to yourself. Alongside values comes vision. Vision is the picture of the person you aspire to become. It is not a list of achievements or possessions. It is the character, habits, and impact you want to embody. For example, you may envision yourself as someone who is calm under pressure, or someone who inspires others with creativity, or someone who lives with courage. This vision gives meaning to your actions because every choice becomes a step toward or away from that picture. When you are clear about the person you want to be, you stop living reactively and start living intentionally. But clarity also requires honesty. Many people struggle with defining their best selves because they are afraid of disappointing others or breaking away from expectations. They worry about what others will think if they choose a different path. Yet, without honesty, clarity cannot exist. Pretending to want something you don't will only lead to frustration and resentment. Real clarity comes from stripping away the noise of other people's opinions and listening closely to the voice within you. That inner voice is often quiet, drowned out by the demands of the world. But when you pause, reflect, and give yourself permission to be truthful, that voice becomes your guide. The beauty of clarity is that it creates focus. Focus is powerful because it channels energy into fewer but more meaningful directions. Think about sunlight. When it is spread across the sky, it warms gently. But when it is concentrated through a magnifying glass, it can ignite fire. Clarity is your magnifying glass. It takes all your scattered energy and directs it toward a purpose, creating momentum and impact. Without clarity, you may chase multiple things at once, but with clarity, you build depth and mastery in areas that truly matter to you. Clarity also provides resilience. When challenges come, and they always do, people without clarity give up easily because they don't know what they're fighting for. But when you know your why, when you know the version of yourself you are striving toward, obstacles become temporary detours rather than dead ends. Clarity reminds you of the bigger picture, and it gives you strength to persevere when progress feels slow. Another dimension of clarity is the ability to say no. Every yes you give to something unimportant is a no to something that could shape your future. Without clarity, you say yes to everything out of fear, obligation, or guilt. With clarity, you say yes with conviction and no with confidence because you understand which opportunities align with your path and which are distractions. This is one of the most liberating aspects of personal growth. Realizing that you don't have to do everything, you only have to do the things that align with who you are becoming. Ultimately, clarity is not about rigidly mapping out your life in advance. It is about creating a vision flexible enough to adapt yet strong enough to guide you. Life will evolve, circumstances will change, and so will you, but clarity acts as a compass that always points you back to your true north. It reminds you of your values, your vision, and your direction even in the midst of uncertainty. When you have clarity, you no longer wander aimlessly. You move forward with intention, confidence, and purpose, knowing that every step is part of becoming the best version of yourself. Self-awareness and discipline are the foundation for consistent growth, and without them, the journey to becoming the best version of yourself remains incomplete. Self-awareness is the mirror you hold up to yourself, the honest reflection that reveals who you truly are, your strengths, weaknesses, patterns, and blind spots. Discipline, on the other hand, is the structure that ensures you act on what, even when it is inconvenient, difficult, or uncomfortable. Together, they form a partnership that transforms potential into progress and intention into results. Self-awareness begins with observation. Most people go through life on autopilot, repeating habits they never question, reacting to emotions they never understand, and following routines they never examine. The danger of this unconscious living is that it traps you in cycles, leaving you wondering why you never move forward. True growth requires stepping back and asking, why do I react this way? What drives my decisions? What are the patterns I keep repeating? It is in the quiet space of reflection that awareness emerges, and with awareness comes choice. Once you see your habits clearly, you no longer have the excuse of ignorance. You are faced with the decision to change or remain the same. Feedback is an essential tool for cultivating self-awareness. We all have blind spots, parts of ourselves that others notice, but we cannot. It takes humility to listen to honest feedback without defensiveness, but this willingness is what sharpens self-understanding. Journaling, mindfulness practices, and self-reflection also deepen awareness, helping you catch moments when your actions are out of alignment with your values. The best version of yourself cannot be built on illusions. It must be built on truth, even when that truth is uncomfortable. But awareness alone is not enough. Many people are fully aware of their flaws and still remain stuck because awareness without discipline is like a compass with no action. It points you in the right direction, but never takes you there. Discipline is the bridge between intention and reality. It is the commitment to show up consistently, even when the excitement has faded. It is easy to start with energy when motivation is high. But discipline is what carries you through the days when you would rather quit. Discipline thrives on structure. When you create systems and routines, you remove the need to rely solely on willpower. Willpower is limited, but systems are reliable. For example, if your goal is to become healthier, discipline means setting a routine for exercise and nutrition and sticking to it regardless of mood or circumstance. If your goal is to grow intellectually, discipline means dedicating time each day to read, learn, or reflect, even when distractions tempt you. Each act of discipline, no matter how small, reinforces your identity as someone committed to growth. The relationship between self-awareness and discipline is powerful. Awareness tells you what needs to change. Discipline ensures the change happens. Without awareness, discipline can become misdirected effort, working hard on the wrong things. Without discipline, awareness becomes wasted insight, knowing what to do but never doing it. Together, they create a cycle of continuous improvement. You observe, you act, you reflect, and you adjust. Each loop of this cycle brings you closer to the best version of yourself. It is also important to understand that discipline is not about punishment, it is about alignment. Discipline is not depriving yourself of joy, but choosing the kind of joy that is lasting and meaningful rather than fleeting and shallow. It is saying no to immediate gratification in order to say yes to long-term fulfillment. Discipline is not harshness, it is self-respect. It is the acknowledgement that your future self deserves the effort you put in today. Self-awareness makes discipline smarter. For instance, if you know that you lose focus when working in noisy environments, awareness leads you to create a quieter space, and discipline ensures you stick to working there consistently. If you are aware that social media distracts you, awareness pushes you to set limits, and discipline ensures you honor those limits. This interplay between knowing and doing builds momentum, and with each cycle, your confidence grows because you begin to trust yourself, not just to dream, but to deliver. Another aspect of discipline is consistency over intensity. Many people chase big bursts of effort, hoping for instant results, but real growth is built in steady, repeated actions. It is not about running a marathon once, it is about walking every day. It is not about studying for 10 hours in one night, it is about learning a little every single day. Self-awareness helps you recognize your natural rhythms, when you are most productive, when you need rest, what habits support you, and discipline allows you to use those rhythms to your advantage. The path to the best version of yourself will always present obstacles. You will face setbacks, failures, and temptations to give up. In those moments, self-awareness helps you understand why you are struggling, and discipline gives you the strength to keep going anyway. It is in the union of these two that transformation becomes possible. Growth is not just about desire, it is about design. And that design begins with knowing yourself deeply and committing to act with consistency, even when it is hard. Resilience turns setbacks into stepping stones on the journey. And it is one of the most critical qualities to develop if you want to become the best version of yourself. No path of growth is free from challenges, disappointments, or failures. In fact, the very process of becoming better will inevitably expose you to obstacles that test your patience, courage, and determination. Resilience is not about avoiding pain or pretending difficulties don't exist. It is about meeting them with a mindset that transforms adversity into opportunity. It is the strength to rise after falling, the courage to continue after defeat, and the wisdom to learn from every experience. Life has a way of shaking us. Unexpected failures, personal losses, financial struggles, or broken dreams can make you question whether the journey is worth it at all. Many people stop at the first sign of hardship, assuming it is a signal to quit. But resilience reframes hardship as part of the process rather than the end of it. When you are resilient, you recognize that setbacks are not proof of inadequacy, but invitations to grow stronger. Every failure carries within it the seed of a lesson, and resilience is the ability to extract that lesson instead of collapsing under the weight of disappointment. Resilience is built through perspective. The way you interpret events shapes how you respond to them. Two people may experience the same setback. One sees it as a final blow, the other as a temporary obstacle. The resilient person chooses to believe that difficulty is not permanent, that effort is not wasted, and that progress is still possible even in the midst of failure. This perspective doesn't make the pain disappear, but it empowers you to move through it instead of being paralyzed by it. The best version of yourself does not emerge in times of comfort. It is forged in the fire of challenge, where you learn to endure, adapt, and persevere. Another aspect of resilience is emotional strength. Life's challenges often bring with them a flood of emotions: anger, fear, sadness, frustration. Resilience does not mean suppressing these emotions. It means acknowledging them without being controlled by them. You may feel afraid, but you still act with courage. You may feel discouraged, but you still take the next step. Emotional resilience is the capacity to regulate your feelings, to give yourself permission to process them, but also to rise above them when they threaten to derail your progress. This balance of honesty and control creates the inner stability needed to keep moving forward. Resilience also comes from adaptability. The world is constantly changing, and your plans will rarely unfold exactly as expected. Those who lack resilience cling rigidly to what they thought should happen, and when reality diverges, they collapse under the weight of disappointment. Resilient individuals, however, adjust their approach without abandoning their vision. They are willing to take a different path, to try new strategies, to learn new skills, all while keeping their focus on the ultimate goal. Flexibility combined with determination creates a resilience that allows you to navigate uncertainty without losing hope. Building resilience requires developing habits that strengthen your mindset. Gratitude, for example, helps you focus on what remains instead of what is lost, reminding you of resources you can still use. Reflection helps you find meaning in struggles, connecting present challenges to future growth. Setting small, achievable goals creates momentum, which fuels confidence even in difficult times. Surrounding yourself with supportive people also plays a crucial role. Resilience is not just about inner strength, but also about leaning on others when needed. The people around you can provide encouragement, perspective, and strength when yours feels depleted. One of the greatest truths about resilience is that it compounds over time. Each time you face a challenge and choose to rise again, you strengthen your capacity for the next one. The first failure may feel unbearable, but after enduring several, you realize that pain is temporary and survival is possible. You begin to trust yourself, not because life becomes easier, but because you have proven your ability to endure. This self-trust is invaluable because it makes you braver, more willing to take risks, and less fearful of failure. And without the fear of failure holding you back, your growth accelerates. Resilience transforms identity. Instead of seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances, you begin to see yourself as someone who can overcome. This shift in identity is powerful because it affects how you approach every future challenge. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, what can I learn from this? You stop focusing solely on what has been taken from you and start noticing what you can still build. Resilience does not erase pain, but it prevents pain from defining you. It allows you to write a new story in the midst of difficulty, one in which you are not powerless but persistent. Ultimately, resilience is not about avoiding hardship, but mastering your response to it. The best version of yourself will not emerge from a life free of struggle, but from a life in which struggle has been embraced, endured, and transformed into strength. Resilience ensures that every setback you face becomes a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block, propelling you forward on the path of growth. Your environment and continuous learning shape your evolution, and together they create the atmosphere in which your growth either thrives or suffocates. Many people underestimate just how much their surroundings influence who they become. You cannot expect to rise to your highest potential if you are constantly surrounded by voices that discourage you, distractions that drain you, or influences that pull you away from your vision. At the same time, growth cannot remain static. It requires constant renewal through learning, exploring, and expanding your mind. These two forces, environment and learning, are the soil and the water that determine whether the seed of your potential grows into a flourishing tree or withers away before it can fully form. Environment is not just the physical place you inhabit, though that matters greatly. It is also the emotional climate you live in, the people you allow into your circle, and the information you consume daily. Every conversation, every interaction, every piece of content you absorb is shaping you in ways you may not even notice. If you spend your days surrounded by negativity, gossip, or cynicism, those qualities will gradually seep into your mindset. If you surround yourself with encouragement, creativity, and positivity, those qualities will take root within you as well. The saying, "You become like the 5 people you spend the most time with," holds truth because human beings naturally absorb the attitudes and beliefs of those around them. The best version of yourself will not flourish in an environment that starves it. It requires conditions that nurture it. Part of shaping your environment is learning how to protect your energy. This means setting boundaries with people or situations that drain you and intentionally seeking out spaces and communities that inspire and challenge you. It may mean decluttering your physical space to create a sense of order, or it may mean curating your digital environment by being mindful of the content you consume online. Each choice you make about your environment is either feeding your growth or stunting it. And when you recognize that, you gain the power to choose intentionally. But environment alone is not enough. Growth also demands continuous learning because the world is always evolving and so must you. The best version of yourself is never fixed. It is dynamic, always adapting, always refining, always expanding. Continuous learning ensures that you are not stuck in yesterday's knowledge, yesterday's habits, or yesterday's mindset. It opens doors to new opportunities, new perspectives, and new ways of thinking. Without learning, you risk becoming stagnant, repeating the same patterns without ever evolving. With learning, you discover new tools, insights, and skills that push you closer to your vision. Learning is not confined to classrooms or formal education. It happens in conversations, in books, in experiences, in failures, and in curiosity. It requires humility, the willingness to admit that you do not know everything and that every person, no matter who they are, has something to teach you. Continuous learning keeps your mind flexible and open, which is essential in a world that constantly changes. It prevents arrogance and complacency, reminding you that no matter how far you have come, there is always further to go. The connection between environment and learning is profound. A supportive environment often sparks curiosity and encourages exploration, while toxic environments suppress it. When you are in the company of people who value growth, you naturally become more eager to learn. When you are exposed to new ideas and challenges, you expand your capacity to adapt and create. In this way, environment fuels learning, and learning in turn transforms your environment. For example, when you learn new skills or adopt new mindsets, you may outgrow certain circles and be drawn to new ones that better align with your growth. Another important aspect of continuous learning is applying what you gain. Knowledge without action is simply information, but when you apply it, it becomes transformation. Every lesson you learn should translate into some form of practice, no matter how small. It could be a new habit, a new perspective, or a new way of approaching problems. Applied learning ensures that you are not just accumulating knowledge, but evolving in character, in skill, and in wisdom. Your environment and your commitment to learning also build resilience and adaptability. The world will inevitably present you with challenges that demand new solutions. If you are surrounded by the right influences and are constantly learning, you will have the mindset and tools to adapt. On the other hand, if you remain in stagnant environments and refuse to grow, change will overwhelm you. Evolution requires both support and stimulation, the right support from your environment and the right stimulation from learning. Over time, the combination of environment and continuous learning creates an upward spiral of growth. As you learn, You elevate yourself into environments that match your new level. As you enter better environments, they push you to keep learning more. This cycle keeps you moving forward, constantly expanding into the best version of yourself. It is not about seeking perfection, but about committing to never remain the same. The person you are today should always be a foundation for someone wiser, stronger, and more capable tomorrow. True fulfillment comes from gratitude, humility, and contribution to others. And these three qualities form the heart of becoming the best version of yourself. While clarity, self-awareness, discipline, resilience, and learning all strengthen your personal growth, they remain incomplete if the journey ends with you alone. Fulfillment is not achieved by accumulation of achievements, wealth, or recognition. It is found in the way you choose to live with appreciation, in the humility you carry even as you grow, and in the difference you make in the lives of others. These elements shift the focus from simply building a successful life to creating a meaningful one. Gratitude is the first pillar because it grounds you in the present moment. Without gratitude, it is easy to live in a constant state of dissatisfaction, always chasing what is next and overlooking what you already have. Many people believe they will feel fulfilled once they achieve a certain milestone, but when they get there, the sense of fulfillment quickly fades and the cycle begins again. Gratitude breaks that cycle by teaching you to notice and appreciate the progress you have already made, the opportunities you have been given, and the people who support you along the way. It shifts your perspective from scarcity to abundance, reminding you that even in difficult times, there is something to be thankful for. Gratitude fuels resilience, strengthens relationships, and creates contentment that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. Humility is equally vital because it keeps your growth authentic and sustainable. As you develop into the best version of yourself, there is always a risk of arrogance creeping in. Success can make you believe you no longer need to learn or that you are somehow above others. Humility prevents that by reminding you that growth is a lifelong journey, that every person has value, and that there is always more to discover. Humility does not mean diminishing yourself. It means recognizing that you are part of something greater than yourself. It allows you to accept mistakes without shame, to seek guidance without pride, and to celebrate others without envy. Humility ensures that your progress never isolates you, but connects you more deeply to those around you. Contribution is where the journey expands beyond the self. No matter how much you grow personally, the deepest sense of purpose comes from using your growth to uplift others. Contribution can take many forms: sharing knowledge, offering encouragement, mentoring someone who is just starting their path, or simply being present and supportive for those in need. When you contribute, you create a ripple effect, spreading growth and inspiration beyond your own life. The fulfillment that comes from contribution is unmatched because it connects your story to something larger, transforming your efforts into a legacy that lives beyond you. The relationship between gratitude, humility, and contribution is interconnected. Gratitude opens your eyes to the blessings you already possess, which naturally inspires generosity. Humility reminds you that those blessings are not solely of your own making, but gifts that can be shared. Contribution then becomes the action born out of both gratitude and humility, the outward expression of an inward mindset. Together, they create a cycle of fulfillment that keeps you both grounded and elevated, giving meaning to your growth while extending its impact to others. Fulfillment through contribution also reshapes how you measure success. Instead of asking how much you have gained, you begin asking how much you have given. Instead of chasing external validation, you find satisfaction in quiet acts of service that may never be seen or celebrated publicly. Contribution builds connection, and connection builds significance. In the end, people may not remember the titles you held or the possessions you owned, but they will remember how you made them feel, how you inspired them, and how you helped them believe in themselves. Gratitude and humility also protect your journey from becoming exhausting or empty. Gratitude brings peace even when progress feels slow, reminding you that growth is not only about the destination, but about appreciating the steps along the way. Humility keeps you teachable, ensuring that you never stop learning and never stop evolving. Together, they create a balanced mindset that allows you to enjoy the journey while still striving for more. Without gratitude, you risk constant dissatisfaction. Without humility, you risk losing perspective. With both, your growth becomes not only steady, but deeply meaningful. The best version of yourself is not the one who simply achieves the most, but the one who lives with the most gratitude, embodies the most humility, and contributes the most to others. These qualities do not weaken ambition, they elevate it. They ensure that your ambitions serve not only you, but also the world around you. True fulfillment comes when your success becomes a source of light for others, when your growth becomes a gift that inspires growth in them. Gratitude, humility, and contribution transform your journey from a personal pursuit into a shared legacy, one that continues long after the milestones of life have faded. The journey to becoming the best version of yourself is not a straight line, nor is it a destination that you arrive at once and for all. It is a lifelong process built on clarity of vision, the honesty of self-awareness, the strength of discipline, the endurance of resilience, the influence of your environment, the curiosity of continuous learning, and the grounding forces of gratitude, humility, and contribution. Each step reinforces the others, creating a cycle of growth that does not end, but deepens with every experience. When you choose clarity, you know who you are becoming. When you practice self-awareness and discipline, You hold yourself accountable to that vision. When you embrace resilience, you transform obstacles into fuel. When you shape your environment and commit to learning, you create conditions that sustain your growth. And when you live with gratitude, humility, and contribution, you move beyond achievement into true fulfillment. The best version of yourself is not a perfect version. It is not someone who never fails, never struggles, or never questions. It is someone who keeps moving forward with purpose, who learns from every experience, and who chooses to use their growth to make a difference. It is someone who understands that the journey is not about arriving, but about evolving every single day. So the question is not whether you can become the best version of yourself. You already hold that possibility within you. The real question is whether you will commit to the journey, step by step, choice by choice, moment by moment, because the best version of yourself is waiting, not in some distant future, but in the decisions you make today.